Hello guys, my name is Juliana Aguirre. This video is about the sound of consonants, their articulation and manner. Well guys, these are the consonants. There are some consonants very similar to the Spanish language, but also there are sounds very different to the Spanish language. I wanted to divide the consonants into voice consonants and unvoiceless consonants. Into account the book Introductory Phonetics and Phonology of English by Daniel Alveolar. I will start with voice consonants. The first sound is P. It's bilabial. The two lips usually close together and block the air that leaves the mouth. For example, pet. The next sound is labia dento. The lower lip comes into contact with the upper front teeth to articulate the sound. There is friction between the lower lip and the teeth. For example, far. While the last sound is T. Its place of articulation is alveolar. The tip of the tongue touches the crust of the teeth and restricts the flow of air. For example, time. The next sound is Dento. Its place of articulation occurs when the tip of the tongue makes contact with the upper teeth, which block the flow of air. For example, path. The next sound is shit. Palaro-alveolar. Its place of articulation is when the person retracts his tongue a little back from the alveolar ridge, and there is friction when the air gradually comes out. For example, ship. The next sound is sh. Palaro-alveolar. Its place of articulation occurs when the person retracts the tongue a little back from the alveolar ridge. For example, shopping. The next sound is s. Its place of articulation is alveolar. The tip of the tongue touches the crust of the teeth. There is an air friction throughout the union of the teeth and the use of the tongue, which are aligned so that the air comes out. For example, say. The next sound is ka. Its place of articulation is velar, the posterior part of the tongue touching the soft palate and restrict the flow of air. For this reason is occlusive. For example, back. The next sound is ha. Its place of articulation is glottal. There is a closure of the vocal folds, forming an obstruction and narrowing with causes friction but not vibration. For example, horse. The next sounds are unvoiceless consonants. The first sound is b. It's bilabial. The two lips usually close together and block the air that leaves the mouth. For example, the next sound is v. Its place of articulation is labia dento. The lower lips comes into contact with the upper front teeth to articulate the sound. There is friction between the lower lip and the teeth. For example, visit. The next sound is d. Its place of articulation is alveolar. The tip of the tongue touches the crust of the teeth and restricts air flow. For example, door. The next sound is the Dento. Its place of articulation happens when the tip of the tongue makes contact with the upper teeth, which block the flow of air. For example, feather. The next sound is j. J. Palaroalveolar. Its place of articulation is when the person retracts his tongue a little back from the alveolar ridge, and there is friction when the air gradually comes out. For example, join. The next sound is z. Its place of articulation is alveolar. The tip of the tongue touches the crust of the teeth. It's the same sound of S in Spanish, with variation of the vocal cords. For example, zero. The next sound is Z. Palaroalveolar. Its place of articulation occurs when the person retracts the tongue a little back from the alveolar ridge. For example, measure. The next sound is G. Its place of articulation is velar. The back of the tongue touches the soft palate and restricts airflow. For this reason, it's an occlusive sound. For example, good. The next sound is is bilabial. The two lips usually close together and block the air that leaves the mouth. For example, mile. The next sound is Its place of articulation alveolar. The tip of the tongue touches the crust of the teeth and restricts the flow of air, and the vocal cords vibrate a little. For example, nurse. The next sound is Its place of articulation is velar, as the back of the tongue touches the soft palate and restricts air flow. For this reason, it's an occlusive sound. For example, going. The next sound is R. Its place of articulation is by a single blow of the tongue back against the alveolar ridge, producing the sound through the use of the vocal cords. For example, rose. The next sound is Its place of articulation is alveolar. The tip of the tongue touches the crust of the teeth and restricts the flow of air, and the vocal cords vibrate a little. For example, look, look. The next sound is wa. Its place of articulation is velar. The back of the tongue touches the soft palate and restricts airflow. For this reason, it is an occlusive sound. For example, what. The next sound and the last sound is yeah. Its place of articulation is paladar. The front part of the tongue touches the hard palate. In contrast, the airflow. For example, yes. This has been for now. Thank you for watching my video.